Season 2, Episode 3 of The Morning Show, Laura. That's it, that's the title. She is also the whole episode basically, and we have waited long enough for her. Juliana Margulies is here, finally. Before we jump in and talk all things Laura, I just want to remind you that these videos are for those of us who have already watched the episode, so there will be plenty of spoilers along with me and my opinions, and I really want to hear what you are thinking, so like, subscribe and join in the conversation. This episode actually kicks off in Wuhan. Daniel and his crew are trying to escape a lockdown. So that's your bit of COVID forefronting out of the way, and we get back to the studio. Alex is almost certainly being built up for some kind of fall. I think that's why there are some parallels between her and Mitch. We see a clip of the ad campaign that UBA have put in motion to announce her return. And we've seen the announcement on TMS, which raises the stock price, we're told. Her reputation is being built up and up more and more. Corey even compares her to Jesus, for flip's sake. And there's a week-long series of TV events to promote Alex's return, including interviews for Alex and Bradley with Laura Peterson. That's Margulies. Alex clearly has history with Laura and she's nervous about her, and with good reason it turns out. Before their interviews, Alex and Bradley meet up for lunch. As Alex gets out of the car, she's asked about Trump's impeachment. They keep dropping him in there. Alex sits down with Bradley and they reference leaving on bad terms, but that fight was intense. I mean, really intense. And neither of them are nearly half as embarrassed about that argument as I think they ought to be. I wonder if that's to do with how the series was written. Were writers off writing their own episodes and so they didn't know exactly how intense that fight had been really? Did the writer of that episode push the fight a little bit further than they'd agreed in the writing room? Or are we back in soap world and we just leave that fight in the last episode and move on? It was decoration, not really substance of the plot. Anyway, they're sitting there and they're interrupted by Maggie Brenner, who calls them the dynamic duo. They are heroes again. And they exchange some tense pleasantries that hint at more to come. Bradley does seem naive here, so I felt like we were being set up for her to really put her foot in it with Laura's interview later. She reminds Alex though that she's a professional and has been in the business for a long time. But the main point of the conversation here is to discuss and agree the truth. We need to decide what the truth is, Alex says. Shocking for journalists maybe, or maybe not, but she is right. Their relationship is under scrutiny and they have to get all of their ducks in a row before Laura starts to interrogate how Bradley got the TMS gig, if Alex was trying to get Bradley fired, and who perhaps interviewed Hannah the day she died, Bradley. I'm not sure how much of this is really exposition. Are they just reminding us of the situation before they bring Laura in? Which we do very shortly, but just before that, we get the new and improved Alex seemingly taking a few steps back and playing some power games and refusing to leave the room where she's getting her makeup done. The actress playing her makeup artist got more lines and input in this scene than I think she got in the whole of the first season, which I was glad to see. I hate all of that silent nodding acting. It's always very, very fake. Weirdly, I felt kind of disappointed by Alex here. I wanted more growth, especially when Laura acknowledges that Alex is playing these games to Corey. I kind of cringed for her. So yes, Laura is here. And what do we actually make of her? Well, the look is very strong and they really want us to know that she is a lesbian. It's practically the first thing that Corey says to her. This setup of Alex against Laura really works in this scene. The subtext feels particularly combative. So I'm curious, what is their history? So Maggie's book has been a recurring theme in the episode so far, and Laura announces that she has seen an excerpt. She asks Alex what is the nature of her relationship with Mitch, which is a similar question to Alex's book editor in a previous episode. So this is a thread that's not going anywhere. And when it's tied to the building of Alex's reputation, I think it must be explosive later in the season. Alex is furious at the question of her relationship with Mitch, and as her producer, Chip manages to smooth things over. The drama of this moment seems fabricated, as Alex now has an office on the executive floor and the studio want her to look great. So the interview is never going to be edited to make her look bad. So the false stakes are again slightly getting in the way. Is this because they need to fill an hour of TV? Or is it because they want to show us just how nervous Alex is? On the other hand, Bradley and Laura meet on a private plane on the way to the Iowa caucus, and Laura is charming and much more softly styled. There's an immediate connection. I think if I'd been much more aware of Laura being a lesbian, then I probably could have predicted the end of the episode at that point, but I was just really enjoying watching Alicia from The Good Wife and having her on TV again. That was my own distraction. Bradley and Laura get on really well, and it's a love-in, quite literally. Laura thinks Bradley isn't getting to shine on the show, and Bradley has parent issues, so predictably maybe they kiss. I sort of groaned, but I do want to see what they do with this. It was also pleasantly ambiguous because Laura was really pushing a point that Bradley didn't want to answer. So was it just a distraction tactic, or is Bradley really into it? In Mitch's storyline back in Italy, he meets Fred finally to discuss this ongoing lawsuit. Mitch doesn't want any part of it, and Fred is still manoeuvring things behind the scenes to make things better for himself. He really is awful. Days after Alex has been announced as returning to TMS, Mitch suddenly gets an alert or 10 on his phone to tell him about this while he's at dinner with Paula. Why the delay? Maybe the scene was supposed to sit earlier in the script originally, or maybe it takes a long time for news and messages to reach Italy. Paula says that Alex Levy is living in her past, and it looks like a pretty good place from here. Later, Mitch agrees to work on a documentary with Paula about a real Italian court case where a judge overturned a conviction of rape because the woman in question was too ugly. Meanwhile, in the studio, we're still downplaying COVID or ignoring it entirely. Social distancing is the best joke anyone in the TMS studio has heard in years. It's just so funny. Ha 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 ha, the irony. Ha 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 ha, social distancing. And Alex rejoins the team. She walks through the studio in slow motion with a low buzz playing as people congratulate her and clap. It feels like a representation of disassociation. Alex is not connecting with their emotions or the people around her. She's in her own trauma. She takes her chair, the one on Bradley's left, not the right, as Bradley previously announced, and then the camera is on. Alex Levy is back, and that's where we end this episode. This feels generally like an establishing episode, so I feel like this review is almost more of a recap, because I'm not sure that there are many points or arguments being explored here. Groundwork is being set for the season, and perhaps the first 3 episodes have all been a little bit like this, and they've done a lot of heavy lifting. In my review of episode 2, I listed 4 recurring themes, which at least 3 reappeared in this episode, but I may have forgotten 2 that are quite prominent in this one again. Maggie Brenner's book spells trouble for Alex, and it better had, or what has been the point of her in the past 2 seasons so far? And Hannah's family's lawsuit is already creating troubles and tension. But unless our cast are called as witnesses, it feels like a studio Fred Micklin issue that doesn't immediately seem to cross the path of our main characters. So we'll have to see where that goes. I'm hoping from episode 4 that we'll get more moral quandaries like the gelateria scene and more of an overarching story. What should we be looking for? Is there an inevitable plotline that I am missing? I'd love to hear where you are with this show. Like, comment and subscribe, and let's talk about the morning show. But for now, let's just wait for the twist.